I never thought I'd watch the president of my HOA pull out a yellow taser in the middle of a courtroom and fire it straight into my disabled daughter's chest. I never thought I'd hear that electric crack snap through the air, followed by her scream, while the whole room sat frozen like justice had just died in front of us. And I definitely never expected the person walking through the courtroom doors seconds later to be my wife. The judge who would decide Karen's fate. My name is Daniel Hall, and I'm about to tell you how a sunflower mural, a power-hungry HOA president, and one act of pure cruelty led to the most terrifying and unbelievable day of my life. It started simple, almost stupidly simple. Emily, my daughter, is 19. She's been in a wheelchair since she was 14 after a spinal cord injury everyone told her she'd never recover emotionally from. They were wrong. She found her outlet painting. And not just painting anything sunflowers. Big, bright, warm sunflowers, she said, reminded her of standing tall even when life bends you. One afternoon, she painted a gorgeous mural of sunflowers across our backyard fence. It was beautiful, hopeful, something that made her smile on days when her pain meds didn't touch the ache. We live in a neighborhood called Hawthorne Meadows, the kind of place with clean sidewalks, pressure-washed driveways, and neighbors who wave but secretly count how long your grass gets before calling the HOA hotline. Enter Karen Blake. 42, blonde bob, cut sharp enough to slice drywall, red blazer she wore like a uniform of intimidation because, believe me, she treated HOA rules like scripture and herself like the chosen prophet. The day after Emily painted her mural, Karen stomped into our yard without knocking, waving around her phone like she was collecting evidence for a murder trial. "Daniel, this is a violation of community visual standards," she snapped, snapping photos of every brushstroke. "You'll be receiving an official notice." I remember laughing at first. Yeah, actually laughing, thinking she was joking. "Karen, it's just a painting. My kid painted sunflowers, not graffiti." But no. She meant business, and by business I mean harassment disguised in paperwork. Every week after that, she showed up with a new violation letter. Trash cans slightly visible from the street. Emily's wheelchair obstructing the walkway. Our holiday lights not symmetrical enough. She even wrote us up because a leaf fell from our maple tree onto the sidewalk and created a slipping hazard. If I didn't hate her so much, I'd admire the dedication. One afternoon, Emily whispered to me, "Maybe she just needs kindness, Dad. That's who Emily is, hurt, her insult, her attack her. She still wants to believe people are good." I loved her for that. But that kindness didn't protect her. It didn't protect any of us. The day we got sued. That's when I knew Karen wasn't just petty, she was dangerous. A formal lawsuit from the HOA for violation of community aesthetic policy and failure to comply with corrective directives. Threatening fines in the thousands. We had to appear in court. That morning, the fluorescent courtroom lights hummed above us like dying insects. Emily looked small in her wheelchair, clutching the blanket she brought for comfort. I sat beside her, trying to steady my hands. I told myself it would be fine. Judges are fair. Judges listen. Judges follow the law. But nothing prepared me for what Karen did before my wife walked in. She strutted into that courtroom like she owned it. Red blazer chin, lifted lips curled into that smug smile she always wore when she knew she had power behind her. She walked past us, leaned down to Emily and whispered, "This won't end well for you." Emily froze. Her eyes dropped. Her hand tightened around mine. I stood up halfway, heart pounding, ready to throw every ounce of decency aside, but a bailiff touched my shoulder. "Sir, please remain seated." Karen's voice cut through the room again, louder. "She's faking it, you know," she shouted. "That wheelchair, that's just a sympathy tactic." The whole courtroom gasped. One man dropped his pen. Emily's face crumpled, humiliation, hurt, confusion. She stared at her knees like she wished she could disappear. Before I could even process the cruelty of that moment, Karen reached into her bag. I thought she was grabbing more paperwork, maybe a file, maybe another printed violation to wave dramatically. But when she pulled out a bright yellow taser, time stopped. "No, no!" I shouted, lunging forward. Too late. The taser cracked violent, sharp electric. Sparks shot across the room. Emily screamed, her whole body jerking as the current tore through her nerves. Her wheelchair rattled against the floor. The sound. God, the sound is something I'll never forget. People shouted. Someone screamed, "Are you insane?" Another person stood up so fast their chair toppled. I ran to Emily, ripping out the darts, holding her while she shook, yelling for help, for someone, for anything. And Karen, she just stood there, frozen, pale, hands trembling, like maybe, just maybe, she realized what she had done. That's when the heavy wooden door to the courtroom opened, and my world flipped, because walking through that door, calm, composed, radiating authority, was my wife, Judge Marissa Hall. Karen's face drained white. "Wait, she's your—" "Yes," I snapped, staring her down. "My wife, and the mother of the girl you just assaulted." For a moment the whole room was silent, the kind of silence you feel in your bones. Marissa didn't look at me. She didn't look at Emily. She walked straight to the bench, picked up her gavel, and said clearly, "Bailiffs, close the doors." The echo of that command actually made the hairs on my arm stand up. The trial wasn't over. No, it was just beginning. Karen looked like her whole world was collapsing. She scrambled into the defendant's seat as Marissa listed the charges with a voice sharp enough to cut her in half: aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, obstruction of justice. Karen's lawyer stuttered something about self-defense. Marissa slammed her hand on the bench. Self-defense. Against a paralyzed teenager, her voice was steady, deadly calm. Karen tried to speak something about being provoked by the mural, about months of non-compliance, about feeling threatened by Emily's parents. The courtroom practically booed her. Then Marissa walked down from the bench, something I'd seen her do only once before in her entire career. Her heels clicked on the floor as she approached Karen, that evidence bag with the taser glinting under the lights. "For months," she said, "you harassed this family. You fined them for decorations, for flowers, for trash cans. You weaponized authority. But today," she lifted the taser, "today you used a weapon on a disabled child." Karen started crying, ugly crying, gasping for breath. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." Marissa's words struck like a hammer. The courtroom was dead quiet. Everyone was watching Karen crumble. Marissa raised the gavel. "Miss Blake will be held without bail pending criminal charges." The bailiffs grabbed Karen by the arms. She fought, her voice cracking. "You'll regret this. You can't silence me." But nobody listened anymore. And then, honestly, one of the hardest moments of my life, Marissa knelt down next to Emily. She brushed a tear from our daughter's cheek and whispered, "No one will ever hurt you again." Emily nodded slowly, still trembling. "I didn't want revenge," she said softly. "I just wanted peace." I swallowed hard. Because for a second, for a weak, shameful second earlier, I had wanted to run away from all this. When the taser hit Emily, when I saw her collapse, all I could think was that I had failed her. I questioned myself, blamed myself, wondered if keeping that mural was the wrong choice, if standing up to Karen earlier might have prevented all of this. But hearing Emily say that, it grounded me, reminded me why we fight, why we don't let people like Karen win. Outside, reporters swarmed the courthouse. Cameras were flashing, microphones being shoved toward my face. Headlines exploded online before we even made it to the parking lot. But none of that mattered. What mattered was the look on Karen's face as she was dragged away, the collapse of someone who abused power for far too long and thought she'd never face consequences. Her downfall was loud, public, humiliating, and it ended exactly where it needed to. Sometimes justice doesn't wear a badge or a robe. Sometimes it wears the heart of a mother.